It's that time of year again where clover is spreading across driveways and turning green yards into wild meadows, and the window to actually stop it is only open for a few more weeks. Last year, I was standing in your exact shoes, with over 45 clover patches spread across my front and side yard. This season, though, there are none, not a single one, and the total cost to get there was under $15. Right now, we're heading into the short window where you can actually knock all of that clover out down to the root and keep it from ever coming back. Miss it, and by the end of September, those patches will have doubled in size, and you'll be looking at the same yard next August, plus whatever new patches have moved in over the winter. I know a lot of you have been told that clover is nearly impossible to get rid of, or that you need to hire a lawn service and spend hundreds of dollars on repeat treatments, and I believed that myself for a long time, until I found a specific combination of a selective herbicide and a couple of basic lawn care adjustments that wipes clover out completely and keeps it from ever coming back. I'm going to walk you through exactly how I did it, the product I used, how I mixed it, when I applied it, and the follow-up steps that make the results permanent, so you're not throwing another $50 bag of weed and feed at a lawn that was never going to touch that clover in the first place. Stay to the end though, because there's one small thing I do with my mower after the treatment that costs nothing, and it's the reason my clover has stayed gone. I'll be covering both cool season and warm season grasses today, so whether you're up north or down south, you're in the right place. Alright, so step one is picking the right product. Get this wrong and none of the rest matters. I got this wrong for 4 straight seasons before I finally worked it out. Most people spot clover in their yard, drive to the hardware store, and grab whatever general purpose weed killer is sitting at eye level. Almost all of those use 2,4-D as the main active ingredient. 2,4-D handles dandelions and plantain just fine, but on clover it's only middling. And the reason ties back to something I want to flag now because it explains why most treatments flop. Clover is a legume, not a typical broadleaf weed, and legumes have a waxy leaf structure and root chemistry that shrugs off 2,4-D. You need something built for them. What you want instead is a selective herbicide built on tricloper. The one I keep coming back to is ortho-weed, bee-gone chickweed, clover, and oxalis killer. The exact formula matters, so grab the version that lists chickweed, clover, and oxalis right on the front of the bottle. That's the tricloper formulation. I ran the tricloper product and a standard 2,4-D weed killer side by side in different sections of my own lawn for 2 full seasons. The tricloper killed clover down to the root in 10 to 14 days. The 2,4-D burned off the top growth, and the clover was back inside a month. If you take one thing away from this video, make it that product swap. Now back to the legume thing, because it's where most people's spray job was doomed before they even opened the garage. Clover isn't a normal broadleaf weed. It pulls nitrogen straight out of the air and feeds itself through its own roots, which is why it takes over lawns that are low on nitrogen. Your grass is starving while the clover eats for free. Purdue's turf science program calls clover an indicator plant. When it shows up in your yard, it's telling you something about the soil underneath it. So the triclopyr handles the clover you can see today, but the follow-up steps later in the video are what fix the conditions that let it move in. That's the gap between a lawn that's clover-free for a few weeks and one that stays that way. That's really what this whole thing comes down to. Doing the right thing at the right time instead of guessing and hoping is really what all of this comes down to. And if you're serious about fixing your lawn, you're going to need the right equipment and a proper plan. And that's exactly why I wrote this book. It's a simple step-by-step blueprint to a greener lawn with the weeds gone for good in just 30 days, and it takes you through what to buy, where to get it, and when to put it down. Scan the QR code on the screen or click the link below to grab your copy. Now, once you've got the right herbicide in your hand, step 2 is the mix, because a lot of people just start blasting away without thinking about it, and the ratio matters almost as much as the product itself. If clover is covering less than about 20% of your lawn, a 1-gallon pump sprayer is plenty for spot treatments. If it's covering more than that, save your arm and grab a 4-gallon backpack sprayer so you can hit the whole yard in one go. For the ortho product I mentioned, the mixing ratio is usually 6 tablespoons per gallon of water for broadcast applications. Always double check the label on whatever bottle you buy, but that ratio has been my working standard for years. Fill your sprayer about halfway with water first, add the concentrate, then top it off and give it a good shake so everything mixes evenly. There's one more thing you want in that mix, and it costs almost nothing but makes a huge difference. You want to add a surfactant, Basically something that helps the herbicide stick to the waxy surface of the clover leaf instead of beating up and rolling off before the plant can absorb it. You can buy a dedicated turf surfactant at any garden center, or honestly, a 1/4 teaspoon of plain liquid dish soap per gallon of water works just as well. And I've been using dish soap for years with great results. Trust me on this one. That tiny addition is the difference between a spray that runs right off a waxy leaf and one that stays put long enough to get absorbed, which is what lets the triclopyr do its job. Step 3 is timing, and I think this is the single biggest reason people's clover keeps coming back year after year. They get the timing wrong. This is where I got tripped up for years, spraying whenever I happened to notice the problem, usually in the middle of summer, and then wondering why the clover just kept popping back up. If you're growing cool season grass in USDA zones 3 through 7, aim for early to mid-fall, so September or early October, when daytime temperatures are consistently sitting between 60 and 80 degrees. For warm season grass folks in zones 8 through 10, your window is late April through May, again when temperatures are in that same 60 to 80 degree range. Timing matters this much because of plant biology. During those temperature windows, clover is actively growing and pulling nutrients down into its root system. So when you apply triclopyr, the plant absorbs it and moves it all the way through the vascular system to the roots. Spray in the heat of summer when clover is stressed and half dormant, and the product just sits on the leaf surface. You'll burn back a little top growth and never reach the roots, which is exactly why my July applications never got me anywhere. Pick a calm day with no rain in the forecast for at least 24 hours. Wind will push the spray onto plants you don't want to hit, and rain will wash it off before it can absorb. Morning applications tend to work best because the leaves have a little dew on them, which actually helps the herbicide adhere. Step 4 is the second application, and this is where a lot of people call the job done too early. You spray your lawn, watch most of the clover die back over the next couple of weeks, feel like the job is finished, then a month later you notice clover creeping back in and blame the product. The product was working fine. A single application will kill about 80 to 85% of the clover, but in thicker patches, the upper leaves shield the lower growth from your spray, so there are always a few survivors hanging on. That's completely normal. Wait 14 to 21 days after your first application, then go back with a targeted spray on any remaining clover you can still see. That second pass catches everything the first one missed and gets you up to a 98 to 100% kill rate. It's the difference between mostly gone and completely gone. So trust me and don't skip it. You're probably wondering what to expect along the way, so let me walk you through the rough timeline. Within 3 to 5 days of your first spray, the clover leaves will start curling and twisting, looking a little distorted, almost crinkled up on themselves. By day 7 to 10, the clover should be turning brown and dying back noticeably. By day 14, most of the treated clover should be completely dead and crispy. Once both applications are done, give the dead clover about a week to fully dry out, then rake it up or mow over it to clear the debris. You'll almost certainly be left with some bare spots where the clover used to be, which is completely fine, because that's what we're going to fix next. Most people just stop and walk away at this point, and that's the exact reason their clover problem comes right back the following year. You've killed the clover, which is great, but remember what I said earlier about clover being an indicator of low nitrogen. If you kill it and walk away, you haven't changed the underlying condition that brought it in, and those bare spots you're looking at are basically an open invitation for the clover seeds still sitting in your soil to germinate and fill right back in. The first thing to do is overseed those bare patches. In a cool season lawn, use a quality seed like a tall fescue blend or a Kentucky bluegrass and perennial ryegrass mix. I personally like Jonathan Green Black Beauty Ultra for this and have had great results with it. Scratch up the bare soil lightly with a garden rake, scatter your seed at about 4 to 6 pounds per 1,000 square feet of bare area, and keep it moist until germination, which usually takes 7 to 14 days depending on the grass you picked. The second thing is just as important as the seeding, and that's putting down a good lawn fertilizer with a decent nitrogen content. I recommend something with a ratio around 24:06, applied at the rate listed on the bag across your entire lawn. What you're really doing with that fertilizer step is raising the nitrogen level of your soil so your grass has the advantage now. When your grass is well fed and thick, it crowds out clover on its own. And a thick, healthy lawn is genuinely the single best long-term defense against clover coming back. I fertilize my lawn about every 6 to 8 weeks during the growing season. For a cool season lawn, that means applications in early fall, late fall, and then again in spring. For a warm season lawn, you're focusing on late spring through summer. That consistent feeding schedule keeps your turf dense enough that clover seeds struggle to find any open soil to take root in. Before we get to the bonus tip, I want to flag 4 maintenance mistakes that keep people stuck in the clover cycle year after year. I see the same 4 come up again and again, and any one of them will undo everything you just did. The first one is leaning on weed and feed products as your only line of defense. I did this for years. The problem is that granular weed and feed needs to stick to the weed's leaf surface to work, so you're supposed to apply it when the lawn is wet. But the application rate is set around the fertilizer component, not the herbicide component. You end up with too little herbicide actually touching the clover to kill it. Separate your weed control from your fertilization. Spray your clover with a liquid herbicide for targeted contact and fertilize as its own job. You'll get much better results on both fronts. The second pattern is mowing too short, and this is a big one. When you scalp your lawn down to 2 inches or less, you thin the canopy and let sunlight reach the soil surface, which is exactly what clover wants. It's a low-growing plant that thrives on direct sunlight at ground level. Raise your mowing height to 3.5 to 4 inches, and your grass forms a thick canopy that shades the soil, and clover just can't compete under those conditions. That single change made a massive difference on my lawn. The third pattern is ignoring soil pH. Clover does well in slightly acidic soil, and if your pH is below 6, which is common in a lot of the country. Clover thrives while your grass struggles. A soil test through your local extension office usually runs $15 to $20. If it comes back low, applying pelletized lime at 40 to 50 pounds per 1,000 square feet once or twice a year will gradually bring your pH up into the 6.5 to 7 range, which is where most grasses perform their best and clover has a much harder time. The fourth pattern is skipping the fall pre-emergent. A lot of people put down pre-emergent in the spring for crabgrass and then forget about it the rest of the year. But clover seeds can germinate in late summer and early fall while soil temperatures are still warm. A fall application. Proteamine is a common, reliable choice. Will keep new clover seedlings from establishing. It won't kill the clover you already have, but it adds another layer of protection against new plants filling in. I promised you a bonus tip at the start of this video, and this is it. It surprised me the first time I tried it, but it works incredibly well and costs nothing. After your herbicide applications and your overseeding are done, mow your lawn at the highest. Setting your mower will allow for the next 4 to 6 weeks straight. For most mowers, that's around 4 to 4.5 inches. That extra height does 2 things at once. The taller grass blades shade the soil hard, which keeps any remaining clover seeds from germinating. And those same taller blades produce more food through photosynthesis, so your new seedlings establish faster and your existing grass thickens up more quickly. I tested this side by side on my own property, mowing one section at 3 inches and another at 4.25 inches after the same clover treatment. The section I mowed taller had about 60% less clover regrowth over the following 2 months. That's a real difference, and it costs you nothing. You're just adjusting a lever on your mower. After those first 4 to 6 weeks, you can gradually bring your mowing height back down to around 3 to 3.5 inches for most cool season lawns. But during that critical post-treatment window, going tall gives your grass the edge. It needs to choke out any stragglers before they get established. Let me pull all of this together into an actual order of operations, because I've thrown a lot at you and it helps to see the whole plan in one place. Step 1. Get down close to the ground, confirm the type of clover you're dealing with, and estimate how much of the lawn it's covering. Under 20%, go with spot treatment. More than that, plan for a blanket application. Step 2, pick up the right product, which is a selective herbicide with triclopyr as the active ingredient. Ortho-weed, bee-gone chickweed, clover, and oxalis killer is what I use myself. Step 3, mix your solution at 6 tablespoons per gallon of water in a pump or backpack sprayer and add 1/4 teaspoon of dish soap per gallon as your surfactant. Step 4, time your application right. That means September or early October for cool season lawns, late April through May for warm season lawns, always in that 60 to 80 degree window on a calm day with no rain for 24 hours, ideally in the morning. Step 5, wait 14 to 21 days, then go back and hit any survivors with a second targeted spray. Step 6, once everything's crispy, rake up or mow over the dead debris. Step 7, Overseed the bare spots with a quality blend at 4 to 6 pounds per 1,000 square feet and keep them moist until germination. Step 8. Fertilize the whole lawn with a nitrogen-forward mix around 2406 at the label rate and keep that 6 to 8 week cadence going through the growing season. Step 9. Raise your mower to its highest setting for the next 4 to 6 weeks, then gradually ease it back down to 3 or 3.5 inches. Step 10. Set yourself up for next year. Soil test, lime if your pH comes back below 6, keep your mowing height tall through the season, and put down a fall pre-emergent to stop the next generation of seeds before they germinate. Listen, I went from a lawn that had more clover than grass to one where I honestly can't find a single patch of clover anywhere on the property. It didn't happen overnight, but it happened in a single season using exactly the steps I just walked you through. The whole thing is actually a lot simpler than most people make it out to be once you understand what clover really is and why it shows up in the first place. It comes down to getting the right product with the right active ingredient into the plant at the right time of year, doing a second application to finish the job properly, and then running a maintenance routine that keeps the underlying conditions working in your grass's favor for years to come. Thick, healthy grass is the only clover control that never wears off, never needs reapplying, and doesn't cost anything once it's there. And that's what you're building toward every step of the way. So good luck, and thank you for watching. Send this to someone who has clover in their yard. Maybe this video will help. And let me know, how bad is the clover in your lawn right now? Is it a few patches, a quarter of the yard, half of it, or more clover than grass? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.